post-surgery and comprehensive post-operative care are essential to restoring their physical health and dignity. Number 2, providing mental health support as part of maternal health care program is crucial. Psychological counseling, supporting groups, and community education can help women cope with the emotionally draining aftermath of fistula and reduce stigma. Raising awareness, number 3, raising awareness about both obstetric fistula and mental health within communities can foster a supportive environment. Education campaigns can challenge misconceptions, encourage empathy, and promote the inclusion of affected women. And number 4, national and county governments and health organizations must prioritize maternal and mental health care in their health agendas. Policies that ensure access to comprehensive care services are vital. Advocacy efforts should aim to secure funding and support of these initiatives. Mr. Speaker, sir, I implore fellow senators and citizens alike to actively participate in initiatives that raise awareness about obstetric fistula and mental health. Let us reaffirm our commitment to uphold health as a universal human right and continue our efforts towards a more inclusive and compassionate society. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I urge everybody to use this opportunity to educate and advocate and promote comprehensive health care that address both the physical and mental well-being of individuals. Together, we can break the cycle of suffering and building a healthier, more equitable county. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had...
Yes, you may proceed with the second statement.
My second statement is the ongoing evictions and demolitions in Mathare and Mukuru kwa Ruben areas of Nairobi County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the actions being taken by the Government of Kenya concerning evictions and demolitions in Mathare and Mukuru kwa Ruben areas of Nairobi County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the recent floods in the country, and especially Nairobi and its environments, are resulted in devastating consequences, including loss of life and extensive property destruction. While I acknowledge the necessity of measurements to ensure public safety, I am deeply concerned by the government's decision to evict people and demolish properties on riparian land along the Mathare and Ngong rivers, which has been executed in an inhumane manner and in violation of the rights of affected individuals. Mr. Speaker, if you can protect
Order,
me.
honorable senators. May Senator Hamida be heard in silence, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the statement, the committee should, number 1, clarify basis and procedural framework under which the government is conducting evictions and demolitions in Mathare and Mukuru kwa Ruben areas, and inform whether due process and human rights have been upheld throughout these evictions. Number 2, provide information of the measures taken by relevant government agencies to ensure that affected individuals are provided with adequate support and alternative housing and compensation for loss and incurred during these evictions and demolitions. Number 3, state plans and timelines for resettlement or reintegration of affected communities to prevent displacement and alleviate their suffering. Number 4, state whether consultations or engagements were conducted with affected communities and relevant stakeholders to address concerns, gather feedback, and ensure transparency and accountability in the eviction and demolition process. Number 5, disclose how the national government utilized the Kenya shillings 10 billion that had been set aside for El Nino preparedness in the financial year 2023-2024, particularly in implementing preventing measures and providing relief to affected communities. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honourable senators. Before I call for the request for statements pursuant to Standing Order 53, allow me to make the following communication. Senator Chute. Now, honourable senators, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA, is the apex body of the private sector in Kenya. The organization brings together the business community and a single umbrella body to engage and influence public policy for enabling business environment. Over the last few years, the Senate and KEPSA have held an annual roundtable conference to enhance greater private sector engagement and participation in the Kenya's governance structure and economic management. The Senate Speakers Roundtable is a high-level platform for public-private sector dialogue between the business community and the Senate that facilitates a joint review of the country's policy and legislative environment, identifies crucial legislation for the private sector that needs to be reviewed or fast-tracked, and addresses any gaps that require new legislative intervention based on the country's and the private sector development priorities. Honourable Senators, this year, the 6th KEPSA Senate Speakers Roundtable is scheduled to be held in Mombasa County between the 12th and the 13th of June 2024 at a venue that will be communicated in due course. The event will be held under the theme, Strengthening the Role of the Senate in Improving County Business Environment Competitiveness for the Creation of Wealth, Jobs, and Inclusive Prosperity in Kenya. To this end, the business community and the honourable senators will seek to set the legislative interventions for 2024 between the private sector and the Senate that is aimed at boosting county economic competitiveness. Focus areas under this theme will be as follows. A, improvement of the overall ease of doing business and competitiveness in the counties, promotion of manufacturing sector as a key driver of economic transformation and job creation. C, addressing factors that inhibit agribusiness in counties. And D, ensuring counties integrate environmental and social consideration. And lastly, strengthening the Senate's vanguard role as shepherds for devolution and county competitiveness. Honourable Senators, I take this opportunity to invite all senators to participate in this forum. Your involvement will be instrumental in driving positive change in our economic landscape, which will ultimately improve the quality of life for all Kenyans. The Office of the Clerk will communicate further details on the event. I've got further communication to make. In the public gallery, we have 44 Form 4 students and 2 teachers from Baringo High School in Baringo County who are undertaking an education visit in the Senate. Honourable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming guests to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Also in the public gallery, we have 39 Form 4 students and 3 teachers from Sacho High School in Baringo County who are undertaking an education visit in the Senate. Honourable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving guests, of welcoming guests to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Baringo County under 1 minute to extend words of welcome to the delegation from Baringo County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to join you and indeed my colleagues in welcoming the students and the teachers from Baringo High School in Baringo County. I wish, Mr. Speaker, to confirm that I'm proud to announce to the House that this is one of our best schools in our county. Speaker, in Baringo we have 2 national schools, Baringo High School and Osen High School. And today, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that Form 4 students are in the House. to see what happens in Senate. And Mr. Speaker, already they have been able to witness the proceedings of this House. I wish to thank them, those who planned for the visit to Senate. And as they go back, Mr. Speaker, I want to wish them safe journey all the way to Baringo. And whatever they've been able to learn today, Mr. Speaker, I want to advise them to apply even in their day-to-day learning in their schools. Mr. Speaker, we always speak about the leaders of tomorrow. And I want to assure the young men and women of Form 4 that, the boys of Form 4, because these are boys' school, Mr. Speaker, that at some point in life, at some point in time, Mr. Speaker, they shall be leaders of tomorrow. They work hard, take their studies seriously, be focused, be determined, be resilient. And Mr. Speaker, I'm sure one day, one time, one of those members, or even more, of the students will be able to sit even in this House as a senator, as a governor, as a member of parliament, or even as a CS. The sky is the limit, Mr. Speaker. It is possible if we work hard. So I want to wish them well as they go back, and we continue to expect more for this year, Mr. Speaker, because they are the students of Form 4 this year. Mr. Speaker, I will see them later as they proceed home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you for your speech. Statement pursuant to Standing Order 53-1, Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the deplorable state of maternity services at Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital, Nairobi County. In this statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should, 1, state the total number of women detained in the hospital facility due to their inability to settle their maternity fees, stating the respective amounts owed. Secondly, state the payment modalities or options in place set by the hospital management for defaulters within the maternity section. And lastly, explain the protocols followed by the hospital management in the event a patient is unable to raise the maternity fee, and confirm whether any policy exists to guide how to handle cases related to the default of maternity fee payments. Thank you.
Senator Oroba Gloria.
Thank you, Speaker. This is my request for statement on the sanitary towels program for the year 2023 to 2024. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget concerning expenditure of the budgetary allocations to the sanitary towels program for the year 2023-2024. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a report of the budget allocations and expenditure by the Ministry of Education and Gender, Culture, the Arts and Heritage on sanitary towels for the financial year 2023-2024. 2, and most importantly, the committee should provide all tender documents, including advertisements, and the details of the awarded tenders related to the procurement of sanitary towels for the year 2023-2024. And 3, in the statement, the committee should provide delivery notes or proof of receipt of sanitary pads by the beneficiaries, including reports of payments to suppliers of the pads during the year under review. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Catherine Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding obstetric fistula, a critical public health crisis disproportionately affecting women and girls in Kenya. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide the Senate with the data on the prevalence of obstetric fistula in Kenya, highlighting the regions with the highest incidence rates to showcase the magnitude of the issue. Number 2, assess the current state of access to fistula treatment in Kenya, indicating whether the proposed social health insurance fund will include fistula repairs under the maternal health package. 3, indicate the national policy guidance that the ministry has provided the county governments for addressing obstetric fistula experienced by women in remote areas. And 4, state the number of distribution of skilled surgeons capable of performing fistula repair surgeries and the number and capacity of specialized facilities for fistula care across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chimera.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a request for statement on the management and operation of Mbele Primary School in Makinon Town by the county government of Taita Taveta. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the management and operation of Mbele Primary School, which is located in Makinon Town, Kwale County, and is currently being administered by the county government of Taita Taveta. In the statement, the committee should, number 1, Mr. Speaker, explain the modalities and the administrative processes under which Mbele Primary School, geographically situated in Makinon Town, reverted to the jurisdiction of Taita Taveta County from Kwale County. Number 2, determine if the Teacher Service Commission, TSC, is aware of the current administrative status under which Mbele Primary School operates within the jurisdiction of Taita Taveta County. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, outline any measures the Ministry of Education intends to undertake to resolve this jurisdictional anomaly, particularly steps to revert the management of Mbele Primary School to Kwale County if deemed appropriate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mohamed Faki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of... pole. Bwana Speaker, nashukuru kwa kunipa nafasi hii kwa niaba ya Mheshimiwa Faki ili niombe kauli kutoka kwa kamati ya kudumu ya elimu. Mheshimiwa Speaker, nimesimama kwa kuambatana na kanuni ya kudumu ya 53(1) kuomba kauli kutoka kwa kamati ya kudumu ya elimu kuhusu malipo ya malimbikizo kwa walimu waliostaafu kutoka tume ya uajiri wa walimu TSC. Katika taarifa hiyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, kamati ichunguze sababu za walimu waliostaafu kutopokea pensheni pamoja na malimbikizo yao ya kustaafu kuanzia mwaka wa 2020 hadi sasa. Ya pili, iarifu seneti hii lini walimu hao waliostaafu wataanza kupokea hayo malipo yao. Na ya mwisho, ieleze pia sababu za hazina ya malipo ya uzeeni NSSF kukosa kuwalipa walimu waliostaafu malipo yao ya kustaafu kwa wakati unaofaa. Kauli hii inatafutwa na Seneta Mohamed Faki Mwenye Haji, seneta wa kaunti ya Mombasa. Asante Mwana Speaker.
Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of Senator Sigei. Mr. Speaker, I have two statements. The first one on the procurement of road construction machinery in Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding the procurement and management of road construction machinery by the county government of Bomet. In the financial year 2022-2023, the county government of Bomet acquired 5 graders, 5 excavators, 1 roller, 5 tippers, and 1 load loader at a total cost of Kenya shillings 250 million. Subsequently, an additional amount of Kenya shillings 56.6 million was sought to further finance the said procurement, bringing the total amount spent for the procurement of Kenya shillings 306.6 million. Notably, this amount was not part of the county's budget and was only sought through a supplementary budget. Mr. Speaker, sir, this supplementary budget was not reflected in any county plan. It was not included in the County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP, nor the Annual Development Plan, ADP, contrary to sections 107, 1084, 1089B, and section 113 of the County Government Act. Additionally, the supplementary budget was introduced without public participation, which contradicts the stipulations under Article 10 of the Constitution and sections 87 and 115 of the County Government Act, as well as sections 51, 61 of the Bomet County Public Participation Act 2019. Mr. Speaker, sir, further, in continuous contravention of the Presidential Executive Order number 2 of 2018 on procurement of goods, works and services by public entities, the county government of Bomet has failed and or neglected to maintain and continuously update and publicize the relevant information in this tender in public forums. Relevant information including, but not limited to, full particulars of the awarded bidder, technical and financial capacity of the awarded bidder, award date and current market price of the specific goods, as well as the price guidelines as published by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, have been concealed from the public. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a detailed account of the whereabouts of the machines and detailed account of the works undertaken by each machine. Additionally, provide the work tickets and particulars of the respective drivers operating the machinery and avail all the relevant fuel order details. 2, provide a detailed report of all the relevant information that the county government ought to maintain and continuously update and publicize, including but not limited to the tender evaluation report, the sales contract, and the terms of engagement employed by the county during the acquisition of this machinery, the assessment and inspection report, and the concurrence report from the Mechanical Transport Department regarding the procured machinery. 3, undertake an in-depth analysis of the prices at which these machines were acquired, highlighting the market value of the acquired machines vis-a-vis the price guidelines as published by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. And 4, finally, confirm whether the county acquired insurance for the machinery and disclose the details of the insurance. Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, I have another one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, on behalf of Senator Hilary Sigei, request for a statement on the prolonged water shortage in Bomet Town. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment, and Natural Resources regarding the prolonged water shortage in Bomet Town, Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the residents and business entities in Bomet Town have for several months now faced a shortage of clean treated water. This has forced them to use untreated water from Nyongores River exposing them to risks of waterborne diseases. The underlying governance and operational challenges contributing to the shortage are multifaceted and have been highlighted in various reports of the Auditor General on the operations and performance of Bomet Water and Sanitation Company, BOMWASCO. I therefore request that the committee, 1, explains the circumstances that led to the Kenya Power and Lighting Company disconnecting the electricity supply to Bomet Water and Sanitation Company. 2, outline any measures put in place by the county government of Bomet to alleviate the water shortage in the short term and to ensure continuous and reliable water supply to the residents of Bomet town in future. 3, report on steps taken by the county government to safeguard the health of residents who, due to the prolonged acute water shortage, face health risks arising from poor sanitation. 4, state any actions taken to address the financial and operational challenges that are crippling BOMWASCO, including financial irregularities, which are evidenced by unsupported board expenses, unverified staff welfare expenditures, and unpaid salary arrears. And 5, provide a status update on all ongoing water infrastructure projects in Bomet County, explaining any delays in completing the project and stating the projected timelines for the same. Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, MP, Senator for Bomet County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Joe Nyotu.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the upward review by the Water Services Regulatory Board, WASREB, of water tariffs in Murang'a County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain the rationale for the upward review by the Water Services Regulatory Board, WASREB, of water tariffs in Murang'a County. 2, provide data on the water tariffs in the counties neighboring Murang'a County and in the wider Mount Kenya region, explaining any disparities. And 3, outline any measures put in place by WASREB to ensure that customers are not overburdened. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chirange.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, request for statement on placement of students in Kenya universities and colleges, Central Placement Service. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the placement of students in universities and state of financial health of public universities in the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the statement, the committee should, 1, provide an overview of the current financial status of public universities, considering the recent financial strain that has led to many public universities and many university staff going without salaries for months. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, identify the number of public universities that are insolvent or facing financial difficulties and explain measures the Ministry of Education has taken to ensure these institutions remain operational and the students are not adversely affected. So, Speaker, number 3, assess the effectiveness of Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service, KUCCPS, in undertaking the role of placing students in universities and tertiary colleges, particularly in the light of high number of complaints from the students and other stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, number 4, explain the rationale behind the Higher Education's Loan Board help providing loans to students in public universities only, while excluding those students in private and faith-based universities across the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, clarify the reasons for the non-placement of students in faith-based institutions by Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you.
Senator Miraj.
Request for statement on cases of attack targeting women drivers operating taxis hailing services. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security and Foreign Relations regarding reported cases of attacks targeting women drivers operating taxis hailing services. In the statement, the committee should furnish the Senate with a comprehensive report on attacks targeting women drivers operating taxi hailing services and provide an update on the status of each investigation. 2, conduct an inquiry into the reported trend of clients posing as women when booking cab services to lure women drivers, only for them to be attacked and even raped. 3, implore the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, in collaboration with the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy, to develop guidelines/tools for the registrations and verification of clients using hail services applications to ensure the safety of both drivers and passengers. And 4, outline the measures the Ministry of Interior and National Administration has taken to ensure the security and safety of women drivers, protect their rights and bring the culprit involved in such acts to book. Senator Miraji Abdullahi, MP, nominated senator.
Senator Mohammed Chuti. That had been deferred because of the absence of Senator Muma. You will comment after Senator Muma has dealt with her business. That is one. There is the paper that was to be laid. You may now proceed to lay the paper, Senator Muma.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 30th May 2024. This is the report of the Kenya delegation to the 148th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland from 23rd to 27th March 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Muma, you may also proceed to give notice. Proceed, Senator Muma, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order, Senator for Homa Bay?
Mr. Speaker, this is a house of order, and you have done a great job in maintaining that order. I bring your attention to Standing Order number 117-2, which says, for avoidance of doubt, that no senator shall pass between the chair and any senator who is speaking, or between the chair and the table. And Mr. Speaker, there are 5 senators between you and Senator Muma. Mr. Speaker,
Order. Majority
Speaker,
Leader, the chair can defend itself. Senator for Homa Bay, none of these senators who have approached the chair have come in between the chair and the senator speaking. And the senators that have approached this chair have done so with permission from the chair. Proceed to give notice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that the Senate notes the report of the Kenya delegation to the 148th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings in Geneva, Switzerland from 23rd to 27th March 2024, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 30th May 2024. Thank you.
Now, honorable senators, I will allow limited intervention on the statements, starting with Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to seek further clarification on the issue raised about Mama Kibaki Hospital. Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital. Mr. Speaker, it is an oxymoron that the governor of Nairobi can purport to wish to end suffering of young people by attempting to give them lunch, Mr. Speaker, when on the other hand, he sees nothing wrong in arresting and jailing newborn babies in this hospital, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to go to that hospital, you see mothers on the floor with their children lying on a lesso because the mothers who go there are not so rich. Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital was not designed to be a slave center. Could the governor quickly declare that before the end of today, all these mothers will be released, and he's free, Mr. Speaker, to come and take our signature so that we can guarantee the parents to pay according to that agreed plan, Mr. Speaker. My second comment, Mr. Speaker, is on the important matter raised by on the budget of Ministry of Education by Senator Gloria. Mr. Speaker, the money that was put aside for sanitary towels was not pocket change. It was hundreds of millions, Mr. Speaker. In fact, up to the tune of 940 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in an era where we are seeing some politically correct so-called business people gyrating and twerking their hips, Mr. Speaker, on social media, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order, Senator Crystal Asige?
Thank you very much, Speaker. I am a little bit shocked to hear some of the vocabulary coming from a senior member of this honorable house, like Boni Halwale for Kakamega County. Mr. Speaker, I thought, my hearing is very good.
Under what standing order are you presenting?
Standing order number 1. I would like you to kindly guide, Chair, if the words twerking and gyrating are content of speech.
Order, Senator Crystal Asige.
101, Chair, 101. I appreciate the support from members. 101 is what I'm standing on. I wonder, Speaker, if you can guide the good senator if the words gyrating and twerking are parliamentary language, and if a man of his stature, CBS, doctor, and all of the other accolades he has should be using such, especially when we have impressionable young students in our midst, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Crystal Asige, I thought the senator was referring to a material in TikTok. Can you make yourself clear, Senator Boni?
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Despite the attempts by the senator to try and take you on a wrong route, you have kept the real path. This is not a joke. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, just to clarify to Senator Asige. I was not elected to come to the Senate so as to teach English language on the floor of this House. Mr. Speaker, the word twerking and the word gyrating are words which are not offensive. They describe the movements dancers make. In twerking, Mr. Speaker,
Order, honorable senators.
Yes.
Why is there a lot of excitement around
Because
those
of
two
twerking.
words? Proceed, Senator.
Mr. Speaker, in twerking, a dancer is seen throwing their hips rhythmically up and down. And in gyrating, Mr. Speaker, in English, a dancer dances swinging their hips in cycles. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying in an era where we are seeing people twerking and gyrating their whips and telling us how they are making money, Mr. Speaker, we want the statement to go further and demand that the names of the companies that were given these tenders, and also the names of the directors of those companies, because we suspect these people twerking and gyrating hips here are the ones who are abusing these millions meant for supporting our little children who have no access to sanitary towels. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Senator Osotsi.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to comment on the statement by the Senator of Murang'a, Honorable Nyutu, on the issue of upward review of the water tariffs in Murang'a County. Mr. Speaker, there's too much noise in the chamber. So I wish to comment on the statement by Senator Nyutu on the matter of upward review of the water tariffs in Murang'a County, and say that WASREB has appeared before in my committee, and we raised concerns about the way they handle tariff reviews in counties. That process is supposed to be participatory. That process is supposed to involve the people of those counties and also to involve the county government. So this statement is very important, Mr. Speaker, but as much as it is important to have water tariffs in our counties, because some of the counties have not done a tariff review for a long time, and that has been an audit query by the Office of the Auditor General. But it is important that that process be done through intensive public participation, and that process to take into account the economic situations in the counties and in the country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support that statement to say that I know a lot is happening in Murang'a County in terms of water service provider management, but this could pose a challenge, and I would wish that the committee that is going to handle this matter, they go to the depth of this matter and ensure that WASREB does not acquire powers that they don't have. They must follow the law, the Water Act, and ensure that the tariffs that they formulate for these counties are done within the law and with the participation of the people of that county and the county governments that are involved. I support.
Now, honorable senators, this juncture, allow me to rearrange the sequence of today's order paper. We move to handle order number 12, and thereafter we will resume the natural or the normal flow of today's business, meaning I will still allow members who wish to make comments on these statements to do so. Clerk, proceed to call that order, please.
Order number 12, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 10 of 2024, second reading, division.
Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the division bell for 5 minutes.
Well, that is the division bell underway as directed by the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffa Kingi. And this is with regards to the division on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill number 2024. This is a bill that is originating from the National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024. And it was referred to the Senate, co-sponsored by the Senate Majority Leader. A debate on this bill took place extensively on the floor of the House, with members of the Senate giving their opinions on the contents of the bill or the proposals that are there in the bill. This bill seeks to give effect to some of the recommendations and views of the public that were submitted during the National Dialogue Discourse. Just to take you back, is that I remember the National Dialogue Committee that was composed of the opposition side and the ruling party side that was constituted and mandated with looking into issues of national interest, came up with 9 pieces of legislation that are to be considered in Parliament, and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill is one of those 9 pieces of legislation that are with Parliament. It is one of the pieces of legislation that are being considered or are meant to be considered by the Parliament, and this is a bill that already was concluded on at the National Assembly and referred to the Senate. A debate on it already took place on the floor of the House, and this afternoon is that members are expected to vote on it for the bill to be read for the second time and proceed to the next stage that could be at the Committee of the Whole and then third reading. So once that bell is done, the doors will be closed and the bars drawn. Voting is electronically, so members will be ordered to maybe log out their cards and again log in for them to be able to take that vote. Back to what the bill contains is that it is a bill that seeks to give effect to some of the recommendations that came out of the NADCO report on the issues of electoral justice and related matters, outstanding constitutional matters, fidelity to the political parties or coalitions, and the law on multi-party democracy. So, in essence, this bill seeks to make amendments to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act number 9 of 2011 to clean up the Act by deleting obsolete provisions. The bill seeks to amend Section 6 of the Act and include experience in accounting or information and communication technology as additional professional qualifications for appointment as a member of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Remember, the electoral system seeks to go digital or employ fully technology or full technology, and these are some of the qualifications that these new bills seeks to embrace when appointing or recruiting commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is the country's electoral body, in a manner that once the country goes fully digital with regards to the electoral process, then the members of the commission will be able to tackle any challenges that may arise with regards to the technology. The bill further seeks to amend first schedule to the Independent and Electoral and Boundaries Commission number 9 of 2011 to increase the number of members of the selection panel from 7 to 9 in order to accommodate a wide spectrum of stakeholders and interest groups. We shall be taking a look at what they mean by the wide spectrum. The bell is now off. The division bell is off. I want to that the members will be going into division now. Any minute, I will be handing you over to this live broadcast for the members to go into division on this bill, that is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill. As debate had already been concluded, I now hand you over back to the proceedings. Well, we shall just continue to take a look at the contents of the bill. Once the House is ready to go into division, then we shall be able to hand you over back to the process. Clause 8 of the bill, this is on the selection panel, and it indicates that it shall consist of 2 persons nominated by Parliamentary Service Commission representing the majority party or coalition of parties and the minority party or coalition of parties, 3 persons nominated by the political parties liaison committee, of whom 1 shall be from a party other than a parliamentary party or coalition of parties, 1 shall be from a parliamentary party or coalition of parties forming the national government, and 1 shall be from a parliamentary party or coalition of parties not forming the national government. On the persons to be nominated for the selection panel is that 1 person nominated by the Law Society of Kenya, 1 person nominated by the Institute of Certified Public Accounts of Kenya, and 2 persons nominated by the Inter-Religious Council of Kenya. Currently is that members are waiting to go into division on this bill to be able to take a vote that the bill be now read a second time. This will give room for the bill to proceed to the next stage. I now hand you over back to the proceedings.
Proceed to close the door and draw the bar. Honorable Senators, for those who are still standing, take your seats. Honorable Senators will now proceed to put the question that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 10 of 2024, be now read a second time. Now, Honorable Senators, kindly log out. And such at times, just go around, pick those cards that are still held in the delegate unit. So, honorable senators, you may now log back into the delegate unit and proceed to vote. Honorable senators, log back into your delegate unit and proceed to vote by pressing yes, no, or you may abstain. Senator Murgo, kindly approach the dispatch for purposes of being assisted to vote. Minority Leader, kindly take your seat. Now, honorable senators, the results of the division is as follows. Ayes at 29 votes, nays 0, abstention at 0. So the ayes have it. Sergeant at Arms, just a minute. Sergeant at Arms, don't withdraw the bar yet.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill 2024, a bill for an act of parliament to amend the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Act and for connected purposes.
You may now proceed to withdraw the bar and open the doors. Now, honorable senators, we will resume the normal flow of today's order paper. We were doing comments on the statements that had been raised. Before we proceed on taking comments, I will allow Senator Tabitha to present her request for a statement. Now, we are doing this because we know today is the last day before we break for the recess.
Agree. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. A request for statement on the fishing activities in the Nakuru National Park that led to the shooting of 4 young men at Barut and Mwariki area of Nakuru West. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from Senate Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries regarding fishing activities in Nakuru National Park that led to the shooting of 4 young men at Barut area of Nakuru West. In the statement, the committee should explain what actions has been taken by the national government and county government to implement recommendations made by Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute that established presence of heavy arsenic metals such as lead, mercury, copper, zinc in fish and water sample collected in Lake Nakuru, which were found to cause health hazard as brain cancer. What measures and strategies does national government and county government have taken to ensure that the fish from Lake Nakuru, which is being sold in Nakuru town, Naivasha, Nairobi, Kericho, Bomet, and Kisumu, is fit for human consumption? Explain the circumstances that led to shooting of 4 youths from neighboring areas of Mwariki and Barut who were seriously injured as they were found fishing in Lake Nakuru. This happened after a similar case where a fisherman who was found fishing was arrested and taken to the deep end of the lake, drowned and mercilessly left to die. Signed by Senator Tabitha Kiroche. Thank you.
Now, before we move to comments, allow me to make this communication. Senator Mariam. Honorable Senators, I would wish to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting teachers and students from Kericho High School in Kericho County. The delegation comprises 3 teachers and 41 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Also, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, 6 students from ICS Technical College in Nairobi County. They are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will give the Senate Majority Leader under 1 minute to extend word of welcome to both delegations.
Mr. Speaker, I will declare very proudly that this is my alma mater. Therefore, these students are in the right institution and have made the right decision to visit the Senate. I was in that school 2001 to 2004. It sounds very many years ago if you are either Senator Eddy or Senator Cherargei. But of course, or Senator Methu, who is saying that is a long time ago. But to the likes of my good friend, the clerk of the Senate, that is just the other day, Mr. Speaker. I welcome these students. I wish them well. I will shortly step out to say hi to them and observe a very important tradition that senators have formed when students visit this house. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I wish to welcome these students from ICS, members of ICS actually from Technical College in Nairobi City County. I was actually a member of ICS as well in my university days. It's one very progressive society that you can identify with and gives you a global perspective to issues because of the interactions and the programs that ICS runs across our universities in this country. Therefore, I welcome them as they visit the Senate. May they also get the full value of whatever they came to seek out in this institution. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now we go back to the comments. Senator Ledama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make some observations and comments on the statement issued by my dear sister, Senator Hamida Kibwana. Mr. Speaker, although the statement is very, very important because it talks about the welfare of young Kenyans, I think it's about time that we stop being reactive and we become proactive. When we are reactive, we are blaming everybody for what is happening to us. Yet, we are the ones who are not strict in terms of policy, allowing constructions of houses along the rivers. And then, ultimately, when a government has got to make a decision, a government also which is reactive, all of us are up in arms. The only way that we can be responsible is for us to be proactive so that we can be able to take responsibility of our actions. It's about time, Mr. Speaker, and this is why we keep on saying that we should send more monies to our counties. We should fight for more monies to go to our counties so that we stop this rural-urban migration. People are migrating into the urban areas. Mr. Speaker, if you go through Nairobi today, and I've been to a lot of parts in the industrial area, you will find that places where there are no dump sites are now dump sites. You'll find that this action of moving people along the river or the riverbanks or the, the land which is adjacent to the rivers, when people are moved from that area, it cleans up the environment. So I think we need to be able to be serious and to become future-centric in terms of our planning, in terms of our thinking. Because my sister has raised serious concerns here. In her first statement, she wants to clarify the procedure and framework under which the government conducted evictions and demolition in Mathare and Mukuru kwa Ruben areas. Mr. Speaker, we know the government was reacting and trying to save people. I think it's about time when we all fight for more monies to go to our counties, we create more jobs in our counties so that we limit the people who have to come in and live as second-class citizens or live as puppets in our urban areas. Everybody here in this house today live like a king or queen. They have their beautiful apartments, they have their beautiful houses, which are not affected by the floods when they come. But the people who we represent are people who are languishing in poverty. I think all of us should be conscious and allow. So in this statement, Mr. Speaker, I would like the committee to go further, to try and see what we need to do as a house so that we can become proactive and we can be able to take responsibilities for our actions. Now, if you ask the governor of Nairobi why he had to remove people from the sides of the river, he will say it's because we want to save these people from being, washed away. To be honest with you, when you look at Nairobi the way it is, when the colonial masters designed Nairobi to be a capital city, they didn't think that the population will grow this much. They thought that probably there'll be a few people living in Nairobi. But the truth of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, as we think clearly on the solutions, we need not to think about 2 years in advance. We need to think about 10 years in advance, create more cities. At first, Mr. Speaker, I was giving some completely unorthodox suggestions that we should move the seat of government from Nairobi to some rural area so that we create room. I think it's about time we do that. Let's go to Taita Taveta. Let's go to Narok. Let's go to, not Narok, we don't have land. Let's go to part of rural areas where we can be able to put the seat of the government. Because the moment you put the seat of the government there, you move more people there, so you decongest the cities which are here. So, Mr. Speaker, this statement is very important, and I thank again Senator Hamida, and I hope that the committee will take really serious proactive measures to ensure that they extend not only in Nairobi, in the areas that the Senator has requested, but in all urban areas which everybody is rushing to. We are neglecting our rural areas. All these changes which are coming, the pieces of legislation which are being introduced now, some of them which we don't even read and we just pass them, will continue disadvantaging the poor people. So, Mr. Speaker, I thank Senator Hamida for her statement, and I hope that we can all become proactive in our decision-making. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also rise to support the statement sought by Senator Hamida. Indeed, our physical planning in the last 60 years has not only failed us, but also failed the future generations. Agreeing with my colleague, Senator for Narok, that we must plan in all our future cities and in county seats where we will be able to accommodate the current and the future generation. Mr. Speaker, sir, successful governments have been unable to make this unpopular decision of having to protect the riparian land. It is time, Mr. Speaker, and I would want to commend the government. As much as it is a painful thing to do, Mr. Speaker, it is equally more painful and more destructive to see people washed away because they have built their shelters along riverbanks. This, Mr. Speaker, sir, is not a preserve of honor in Nairobi County. It is repeated in various counties. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is time that we as senators come up with laws that will ensure that riparian land across the country are protected and people are not allowed to build and construct and obstruct waterways. We saw, Mr. Speaker, sir, penny-free houses, lives and property being washed down the rivers. It was a sight to be so painful, Mr. Speaker, to see people die because we have not been able to make a decision, and us, especially the political class, have always made that popular decision of making sure that people continue living, despite the fact that we know that is a very, very unfortunate thing. Moving forward, Mr. Speaker, and lauding the government for this, we must not allow this to happen tomorrow. We must not allow that to happen again. And therefore, we must come up with legislative and legal framework that will ensure that waterways, riparian lands are not only protected, but we do not allow people to put up structures because we have seen what it has the potential to create. Mr. Speaker, sir, yes, indeed, we need a lot of political goodwill to ensure that we go in tandem with the environmental conservation measures, some of them which are very painful to our people. Mr. Speaker, construction along the riparian land does not only destroy the ecosystem, it also endangers people's lives in addition to encouraging erosion and pollution. We know people living downstream in the counties downstream, Mr. Speaker. They have been affected by waters that transfers the county of Nairobi, transfers the counties of Makueni and Machakos, all the way down to Tana River to Kilifi. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is our duty as Kenyans to ensure that even our brothers and sisters living downstream, they enjoy, in line with the SDG, clean water, clean environment. This can only be done when we ensure that the riparian and the riverbanks and the waterways are kept free of contamination, are kept free of human encroachment, so that we do not lose life, but also ensure that people living downstream enjoy clean water. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support.
Senator Eddy.
Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the statement by Senator Amida. And Mr. Speaker, in these last few weeks, I've actually been very involved in the response efforts towards those who have been affected by floods. And Mr. Speaker, it is perturbing to still see a number of families that are struggling here and there. And I think that I want to be cautious not to politicize this matter to the extent that I think that the committee can be able to devise a way of actually communicating a proper intervention, not only during this response time, but also during recovery. And therefore, I support Mr. Speaker.
Senator Methu.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to make very quick comments on the two statements. One that has been sought by my neighbor and the Senator for Nakuru, Senator Deputy Majority Leader Tabitha Kiroche, on the shooting of 4 young men in Barut area in Nakuru West. Honorable Speaker, it is a very sad state of affairs, Honorable Speaker, that people who are just out to make a livelihood, to make a life, to get to feed their families, Honorable Speaker, were met by these uncalled for deaths, Honorable Speaker. And I am asking this question in my mind, Honorable Speaker. Is it for the young men or the people who are around this lake, Honorable Speaker, to know that there are arsenic metals in fish, or is it the county government and the national government, Honorable Speaker, to declare this a condemned area, Honorable Speaker? Number two, this is a very substantive question that I've been asked by Senator for Nakuru. What is the county government and the national government doing about it, Honorable Speaker? There should be a permanent solution to this particular menace, Honorable Speaker. And more dangerously so, what about the fishing that is happening? Because there's fishing that is happening, and fish is being sold, as she has rightly put. And you know, I come from a constituency that is just next to the Lake, Honorable Speaker. How sure am I that the fish that is being taken by the people of Nyandarua, the people of Kinangop, does not have these metals that are causing cancer of the head here, cancer of the brain, and cancer of many other places, Honorable Speaker? The government must stop, the county government, and the ones that have been charged with this aqua life of fish, Honorable Speaker, they must move in speed and ensure that this matter is sorted. The second comment that I would also want to make is on this statement that has been sought by Senator Tabitha Mutinda on a very sad, again, status, Honorable Speaker, of mothers that have been detained at Mamarusi Kibaki Hospital, Honorable Speaker. We see the governor walk with flamboyance. We saw him yesterday, donned in yellow colors, Honorable Speaker, abusing people right, left, and center, Honorable Speaker, disrespecting His Excellency the Deputy President, Honorable Speaker. You would imagine that the health is working in Nairobi, Honorable Speaker. But what are we seeing? Innocent mothers are staying in hospitals, Honorable Speaker. What does a baby have to do with that the mother cannot be able to pay her bill to go home, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, if you start suffering from your day of birth, Honorable Speaker, if you start detention on your day of birth, Honorable Speaker, what becomes of your life? If the governor cannot, or the county government that is charged with your health, Honorable Speaker, cannot be able to secure your freedom when you are born, Honorable Speaker, and what we see is flamboyance. Many committees who are here, Honorable Speaker, have to even find the governor to appear before this committee to be accountable, to appear before the committees of this parliament, Honorable Speaker, to be accountable, Honorable Speaker. But what are we seeing? But anyway, Honorable Speaker, it was said that for the people that, it was said, I should not be quoted, it was said that for the people who got a degree for the governor of Nairobi, forgot that getting a paper is not sufficient to getting an impacting knowledge on the person, Honorable Speaker. A paper cannot measure up, Honorable Speaker. You could walk around with a degree, but if you do not have the knowledge, it will come out, it will be seen. It is what is being seen in this particular statement, Honorable Speaker, that is being sought. Because if you cannot address the question of health, Honorable Speaker, you are just masquerading, Honorable Speaker, and moving around, disrespecting people and saying that for the people of Nairobi, because this is just one issue, I know if the senator for Nairobi was here, he would be speaking about the ISO of the dump, the garbage that is all over Nairobi, Honorable Speaker. And then somebody is making a joke that the dimples of the governor of Nairobi are deep enough to throw that garbage, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, people must be serious. People must be accountable. I don't want to say anything more than that. I want to stop it at that. Thank you very much.
Senator Kathuri Murungi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to make a brief comment. And Mr. Speaker, because I'm mentoring Senator Andy to be a very good legislator, you don't support a statement. You just make a comment. You make comment either positive or negative, but you don't support a statement. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to make a brief comment on the statement sought by the Senator for Nakuru County. Mr. Speaker, since I've done small, not a lot of science, but I know heavy metals really affect the brain and they cause brain cancer with a very high speed. So, Mr. Speaker, number one, in Lake Nakuru, we have one major problem of heavy metals in Lake Nakuru. Heavy metals as a result of pollution, especially industrial pollution. So there is a lot of pollution from the industries or factories in Nakuru, and that is why we have heavy metals in that lake. Now that is one of the problems. What should be done by the government? Because the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute already has declared there is heavy metals in that lake. And I'm getting from the good senator for Nakuru, who is aspiring to be the next governor, and I can see she is really overworking. There is this recommendation by Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. What is the government doing to make sure that that is implemented, Mr. Speaker? So the county government at one point, because they should protect the people in Nakuru, should also be accountable, because the people in Nakuru County belong to Nakuru County. So they should be able to be protected by the governor in Nakuru, governor for Nakuru County. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the national government, because Lake Nakuru is under Kenya Wildlife Service, KWS should really implement that advice by Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute. So, Mr. Speaker, the boys going and accessing the lake, they are just looking for food, and they don't know whether there is heavy metals in the lake or the lake is clean. So, Mr. Speaker, the boys are very innocent. And when these askaris, KWS askaris, go and shoot them, completely they don't know what they are doing, Mr. Speaker. And those people should actually be arrested and demand actually the arrest. And to me, they should not be a mere statement, but should a substantive question, which you should direct it to the either kind of the CS leading the one drive, or even health, or somebody, one of the CSEs, you must explore and see where you can fit this question. So I wish you could bring it as a question so that we can ask the CS from this floor what effort they are doing. Because I know statements, of course, they will go and write something and bring to the committee. But when he or she appears here, we can get good statements from them. We can be able to interrogate. So, Mr. Speaker, I really wanted to make that statement that also NEMA, National Environment Management Authority, should be held accountable. Because if there are heavy metals in the lake, why are they allowing pollution to this lake in Nakuru? So, Mr. Speaker, that is the end of my comment. And I really wish also to comment on the statement by the other Tabitha Mutinda, because county governments, Mr. Speaker, have failed greatly. And if women are detained in a hospital at this era by a governor even who was a senator in this house, and he understands devolution perfectly, and he served here for 5 years, I served with him also in the National Assembly for 5 years, so he really knows and understands what should be done in the county. So, Mr. Speaker, counties are almost stalling. Most of the counties are operating on autopilot, Mr. Speaker. Like where I come from, we have high cases of cancer. And I want to ask the chair for health committee to give me a date to travel to Meru, because we must go and see the situation. Cancer patients are rotting at their homes, Mr. Speaker. Like now, tomorrow, my foundation will be visiting 3 cases in Igembe. Mr. Speaker, counties must really work hard, and I want to say that health, education, agriculture should be really, and drones. Those 4 departments should be actually devolved 100% so that we can be able to make sure that there is money in the counties. What the governors are saying is that there is no money for health. They are saying money is at the national government. When you ask them about water, they will tell you regional bodies, water bodies have money, but operating from Nairobi. So, Mr. Speaker, I wish one day we can be able to give these counties all this money directly so that governors can be accountable. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
No, Honorable Senators, the 30 minutes allowable under standing orders, more particularly Standing Order 53.3, have long been spent. We shall therefore rest it right there. Now, before I call the Majority Leader to make his statement pursuant to Standing Order 57.1, there are 2 papers that are supposed to be laid. There is a paper there is a report by the Committee on National Defense, on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, and also there's a report by on ordinary session of the Plenary Assembly and related meetings for the Forum of Parliaments of the Intergovernmental Conference on the Great Lakes region that was held in Livingstone, Zambia. Honorable Cheptumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House of the Senate today, 30th of May 2024. Report of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on the Fire and Rescue Services Professionals Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 55 of 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Hazana.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 13th of May 2024. It's a report on the 14th ordinary session of the Plenary Assembly and related meetings of the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference on the Great Lakes held in Livingstone, Zambia from the 15th to 19th April 2024 on behalf of the Head of Delegation, Senator Ali Roba Ibrahim, EGH MP, Leader of the Delegation.
Thank you. You have another paper to lay?
A notice of motion. On the same.
All right, you may proceed to give notice.
Mr. Speaker, I also beg to give a notice of motion on the report of the 14th ordinary session of the Plenary Assembly and related meetings of the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region held in Livingstone, Zambia from the 15th to 19th April 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the Senate notes the report of the 14th ordinary session of the Plenary Assembly and related meetings of the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region held in Livingstone, Zambia from the 15th to 19th of April 2024 on behalf of Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba, EGH MP. Thank you.
Before the Majority Leader takes the floor, I've got this communication to make. Senator Hazana, take your seat. Take your seat, Senator Hazana. Honorable Senators, in the public gallery, we have 20 students and 5 teachers from Grace Baptist Academy in Nakuru County who are undertaking an education visit in the Senate. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Nakuru County, Honorable Tabitha Keroche, to extend a word of welcome under 1 minute, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I take this opportunity to welcome the students from Nakuru, and I know that's a good school, and I tell them that they take the advantage that they have, because I think during our time we didn't have the advantage of visiting the Senate and the National Assembly. So make use of the opportunity that you have and to expand your knowledge and get wishing you all the best and get what you came to get, and wish you all the best even in your education and bright future ahead of you. Nakuru County is a county of opportunities, and thank you and most welcome, and looking forward to seeing you before you leave. Asante. God bless.
The Senate Majority Leader. The Senate Majority Leader. Proceed to make your statement pursuant to Standing Order 57-1.
Mr. Speaker, sir, Pursuant to Standing Order 57-1, I hereby present the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, 25th June 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, as honorable senators are aware, in accordance with the calendar for the third session, at the rise of the Senate today, the Senate will proceed on recess until Tuesday, 25th June 2024. It is my hope that honorable senators will take time to recharge and refocus on the important tasks that lie ahead in part 3 of the third session. Mr. Speaker, sir, the status of legislative business before the Senate is as follows. 44 bills are pending conclusion on the Senate, of which 36 are at the second reading stage, while 8 are at the committee of the whole stage. 17 motions are pending conclusion. 17 petitions are due for reporting by the respective standing committee, and 338 statements are pending before the respective standing committees. I would like to point out that over the last 7 weeks, the Senate considered and concluded on the following. 6 bills were passed and referred to the National Assembly. 8 motions were adopted, and 5 petitions reports were tabled by the Study Committee on Energy, Health, and National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations. However, honorable senators will note that the business before the Senate is still substantial. I would like to particularly single out standing committees and implore upon them to capitalize on the upcoming recess to conclude the business pending before them and to table reports thereon registered by the standing orders. Upon resumption from the recess, the Senate Business Committee will meet on Tuesday, 25th June 2024 to consider the business for the week. The tentative business for Tuesday will include business not concluded from today's order paper, as well as the business indicated in the notice paper that is appended to the order paper. The tentative business for Wednesday, 26 June 2024 morning sitting will include the schedule of questions as approved by the Senate Business Committee, as well as motions. Mr. Speaker, sir, the business for Wednesday, 26 June 2024 afternoon sitting will include business not concluded in the order paper for Tuesday, 25th June 2024, and for this following. Bills at the second reading stage. The Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 46 of 2023. The Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 49 of 2023. The Local Content Bill, Senate Bills number 50 of 2023. The Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 53 of 2023. The Early Childhood Education Amendment Bill, Senate Bills of number 54 of 2023. The County Oversight and Accountability Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2024. The County Civic Education Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2024. The County Statistics Bill, Senate Bills number 5 of 2024. The Intergovernmental Relations Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 12 of 2024, and the County Assembly's Pensions Scheme Bill, Senate Bills number 14 of 2024. The projected business for Tuesday, 27th June 2024 will be business note concluded in the order papers for Tuesday, 25th June, Wednesday, 26th June, and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee. I thank you and hereby lay the statement on the table of the Senate. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 8, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bills number 19 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the additional allocations to county governments for the 2024-2025 financial year, the responsibilities of national government and county governments pursuant to such allocation, and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, the County Allocation of Revenue Bill, Senate Bills number 25 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the equitable allocation of revenue raised nationally among the county governments for the 2024-2025 financial year, the responsibilities of national and county governments pursuant to such allocation, and for connected purposes.
Next order. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022.
Majority Leader. We are on order number 10.
Will you second?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. 1 second. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the National Assembly amendments to the County Licensing Uniforms Procedure Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022, be now considered. Mr. Speaker, sir, I observed a few days ago that we are entering a very beautiful phase of our legislative journey. To the best of my recollection, I think this is the 5th or the 6th this year alone mediation report that are moving before the House. I don't think my predecessors had such an honor. Things used to be different. And the fact that the two houses of parliament have come to appreciate the distinctive role of each other, and now we sit in mediation processes, complete, agree, and find common position, Mr. Speaker. And those reports are filed in both houses of parliament, Mr. Speaker, is good progress. And I must celebrate both houses, the National Assembly and the Senate, for finding it within their space to close ranks, Mr. Speaker, and agree on the various issues. Mr. Speaker, I like the fact that thanks to this new spirit, one of the key things that I see in many of these bills, Mr. Speaker, that go through a mediation process, Mr. Speaker, is that where there are instances where Senate had been locked out of a particular legislative process or policy decision, where the reports were supposed to be taken either to the National Assembly alone, I see our colleagues always include and say that Parliament, instead of specifying to one house, Mr. Speaker, unless it's a constitutionally provided issue where the Constitution has limited its consideration, because there are instances where the Constitution has provided limitation of their consideration only to the National Assembly, or some even to the Senate alone, without the other houses. But on any other matter, Mr. Speaker, so long as we have the opportunity, I believe this House has the brains, Mr. Speaker, and we have the time, Mr. Speaker, and we love this country as much as our colleagues in the National Assembly. And therefore, so long as we are not constitutionally barred from considering any matter, I like the fact that that is a direction this House is taken. There are a few amendments that they have proposed after their mediation exercise, and I am glad that they have acceded. Clause 2 of the bill now, Mr. Speaker, will be just ordinary definitions of what the Cabinet Secretary is, the definition of the word licensing, Mr. Speaker. There'll be deletions to be made, basically cleaning up of that bill, Mr. Speaker. Clause 4, Mr. Speaker, is just about renumbering, Mr. Speaker, and then there's a new subclause, Mr. Speaker, which will now state that a licensing authority shall, in considering an application for a license to carry out business which is ordinarily regulated by a professional body, undertake due diligence to ascertain whether application or an applicant is duly qualified and licensed to undertake such a business, just to ensure that we professionalize and we observe these standards similarly across all our 47 counties, Mr. Speaker. And I like the fact that we are now standardizing approach of all these matters, Mr. Speaker, before all our 47 counties, Mr. Speaker. Before this, there are counties which will set a particular process. Other counties, Mr. Speaker, would choose a different procedure. Therefore, I like that. Clause 5, Mr. Speaker, is by inciting words which includes, the new paragraph will now read as follows, that in consideration of a license, the applicant shall consult the relevant government entity responsible for standards in order to ensure that the high quality of goods produced and services delivered are of high standards. It's just about the same thing that I was speaking about, Mr. Speaker, on standards and quality application. There's a whole new definition of Clause 7 on policies and the rest, and so on and so forth. Many of them, Clause 9, 10, 11, 14, 15, 17, Clause 20, Mr. Speaker, on what are the requirements from each of the county governments, Mr. Speaker, and what are the responsibility of the CCM for that period, who are the members that will sit in that particular board, including representatives of the County Chamber of National Commerce. I want to challenge, though, I don't know if we have Senator Seki in the House, but I know Senator Lelegwe is the Vice Chair of Trade Committee, that we need to standardize or perhaps give better legislation on how this, because now if we are getting to the point where we are including members of the Chamber of Commerce into government entities, then it means we must be serious in how elections for those chambers are done in those counties. I don't know if Senator Boni Halwale, for example, knows who is the chairperson of the Kakamega Chamber of Commerce. Perhaps he might not know. Yet, given that he is a long-serving member of parliament, he knows virtually everybody of means and the people that matter in Kakamega County. I hope it is not somebody who is irresponsible. It is somebody who, when you include in government agencies such as this board that is being set up for the licensing procedures, Mr. Speaker, they will represent the interest of business people. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, if you don't standardize elections and how people, if it is just a kangaroo exercise where 2 or 3 hawkers meet and say that we have ability to represent the business interest of every other person, forgetting about others that ply different trades apart from hawking, Mr. Speaker, then we will find ourselves in difficult situation. Finally, Mr. Speaker, is on Clause 24, which are the following words that are being inserted on the definition of what are the specifications of what the respective counties take into consideration. And those factors are the scope of the license, the economic considerations, regulatory cost, and so on and so forth. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank our colleagues who served in the mediation committee thank them for a good job, and say that I am broadly happy that Senate and the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, are finally agreeing and closing ranks on issues that are important to our nation. Previously, Mr. Speaker, it was impossible. In fact, I recall that during my first days in this House, it was abnormal if a mediation committee lived to see their second meeting. Many of them will collapse at the first meeting and they will disappear and never meet again. But we have come of age. Yesterday, I tabled again, Mr. Speaker, the mediated version of the Division of Revenue Bill. I'm told 3 meetings is what it took to unlock the deadlock. Mr. Speaker, even if it takes longer, so long as people sit down, they talk, they agree, and both houses are able to accommodate and have the perspective of laws that we are making, from those of us that represent the counties and their interests, and our colleagues in the National Assembly who might represent other entities. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I congratulate both teams that sat down in this mediation exercise and urge our colleagues to support this exercise. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and request the Senator for Kakamega, the majority whip, to second.
Senator Boni Halwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is the said Senator of Kakamega, invited by the leader of the majority to second the motion. And yes, Mr. Speaker, I agree and I rise to do so. Mr. Speaker, whereas the leader of the majority has taken a fairly reasonable short time, but seriously speaking, Mr. Speaker, this is a procedural matter. Being procedural matter, the good comments and the comments adding value that the leader of the majority has spoken to and which subsequent speakers might speak to will actually come at the actual time of consideration. I therefore, Mr. Speaker, support and second this motion for consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill from the National Assembly, that the National Assembly amendments to the County Licensing Uniforms Procedures Bill of the Senate be now considered. Mr. Speaker, I've just been in the UK for 10 days. And Mr. Speaker, like most parliamentarians in the Commonwealth, one never really misses a chance to visit the two houses of power in the UK, both the House of Lords and the House of Commons. And when I was there recently, Mr. Speaker, I was happily reminded of how we transited from the old system and now to the bicameral one. And I'm glad that, Mr. Speaker, that this in keeping not only with the UK, but also with the US, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just like the leader of the majority, we want to standardize these issues. We want to attract the right people into place using a common practice. And Mr. Speaker, to allay the fears of the Senator of Kericho, the long-serving head of the Chamber of Commerce in Kakamega is a very respected man from Shinyalu by the name of George Musindi. And I would love many other areas to have a man with those kind of qualities. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I second the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Senator Boni Halwale. Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the National Assembly amendments to the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2022, be now considered. Honorable members, I've seen a good number of you with requests. I believe these requests are towards the motion that has just been moved by the majority leader. And I will start by inviting Senator Orwoba. Gloria. Senator Mungatana Danson Buya.
Mr. Speaker, may I pass because I think I've been given the wrong motion.
Senator, I have from my dashboard Senator Okech. Senator Okech, you have requested to speak to this particular motion. Unless you pass as well, Senator Medhu. Honorable members, it appears there is no member who is interested in speaking to this particular bill or other motion, and in the circumstances then, I will direct that the mover can proceed to reply. Majority Leader, proceed to reply.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I sympathize with the young senator from Nyandarua. He wanted an opportunity to speak to this bill because, you know, he's a man who is involved in many businesses across various counties. Therefore, this law affects him specifically. But allow me to reply on his behalf and say perhaps what he would have said, that this is great progress that you have made. I want to thank Senator Boni Halwale for seconding this particular motion, that the mediation report be adopted, Mr. Speaker, sir. Therefore, I appreciate them for their comments. Mr. Speaker, I don't think there is much to say because we had already spoken on this particular bill, Mr. Speaker. I don't mind, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Medhu, let me first confirm whether the Majority Leader is willing to be informed by yourself.
Mr. Speaker, you know, I got Senator Medhu from Nyamakima, where he was working as a trader. Therefore, when you are doing any law on licenses, he knows this matter very well. Therefore, I do very well with his advice.
Very well, Senator Medhu, proceed to inform the Senator Majority Leader.
Very well, Honorable Speaker. So sorry to the Leader of Majority, and metaphorically, I once heard from a county that I come from, because that is a county where the then very powerful Minister for Finance came from. On one of his trips, the flag of his car fell off, and it was an indication that his days as minister are almost coming to an end. I imagine that it is not the same for the seat of the Leader of Majority, which and without running the risk of being seen to contribute, and I wanted to inform the Leader of Majority because he is now at the point of replying, Honorable Speaker, and as a person who deals with especially small-scale business, because he deals with big businesses, Honorable Speaker, I have this very small comment to make, Honorable Speaker. And I want to...
Is it a comment?
It's
or
not a comment.
Information?
I'm informing my elder brother, the Senator for Kericho. I'm informing the elder brother for Kericho, Honorable Speaker, that first of all, this mediated version is giving birth to a law, Honorable Speaker, that will become a solution to some of the very, very pertinent issues that are serving and are hurting our people, Honorable Speaker. He was actually on that point when he was contributing, Honorable Speaker. Case on point, Honorable Speaker, just this week, and for the last about 3, 4, 5 weeks, Honorable Speaker, there has been a very big battle that is physical between traders in Nyandarua and County Askaris, Honorable Speaker. Why? Because the traders are accusing the county government of Nyandarua of raising their fee, their licenses with over 100%, Honorable Speaker. If this, and because we are passing this law now to become law, Honorable Speaker, it will bring uniformity, it will bring sobriety, it will eliminate a small route that have been used by committees of finance in the county assemblies and the county executives that send these memoranda to the county assemblies, Honorable Speaker, where they get a small clique of people to just go and do small, public participation. And when you ask the traders, was this public participation conducted? No one can be able to stand up and say that this public participation has happened. Out of about 1,000 registered traders in Nyandarua and in Orkala, Honorable Speaker, less than 15 out of 1,000 were participated in the public participation of the finance bill that is now a matter that has gone all the way to the High Court in Orkala, Honorable Speaker, where orders have been issued against that for traders not to pay the new residences, Honorable Speaker. So when we get a county board that we rely on regulations that will come even, that will have to come even from the Cabinet Secretary in the National Government, Honorable Speaker, they will be able to be, the same fees that are, or the same parameters that are being used in Ramu, we can be able to borrow, because a business in Ramu will have some similarities in a business in another place, Honorable Speaker. I don't want to say anything more than that, because I was informing the Leader of Majority. I am sure the Leader of Majority, who is just about to reply, and who is a bit engaged because I know the Leader of Majority have benefited largely from my legendary wisdom and knowledge.
Senator,
he can now reply.
Senator Aaron, proceed to conclude on your reply. I believe
I'm not sure whether
you've been informed.
I'm not sure whether I've been informed or misinformed, Mr. Speaker. But it is always good to learn, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to reply. Mr. Speaker, sir, in accordance to Standing Order number 66.3, I want to request that you defer the putting of a question until a later date. I thank you.
Pursuant to Standing Order 66.3, the putting of the question is deferred to the next sitting. We now may need to call the next order. Honorable members, we will have to rearrange the order paper so that we can progress with the business that is ready for transaction. And order number 11 is hereby deferred. Order number 13 is hereby deferred. Order number 14 is hereby deferred. Order number 15 and number 16 are both hereby deferred to the next sitting. Clerk, call now the next order.
Order number 17, the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 40 of 2023, second reading.
This is the bill by Senator Kibwana, and at the time the House rose, Senator Tobiko had 16 minutes to conclude all her submissions. I don't seem to see the Honorable Senator Tobiko in the House, and therefore I will pass. There is a request by Senator Mandago, Senator Eddy, and Senator Orwoba. I don't know whether you desire to speak to this bill as well. Very well. Then I will therefore ask Senator Kibwana, the mover, to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate my colleagues who contributed to this bill. I took note of every contribution that they made. I relate to Senator Muma's contribution on the system that Kenyans will not be defrauded by the government. So we need to put in place that system that Kenyans will not be defrauded by the government. And also allowing digitization to be left squarely on people who are on the system. Mr. Speaker, I also appreciate Senator Mungatana, because he spoke about the automated system and on criminal liabilities, that there should be no limitation for bribes on this one. I thank you, Senator Cherargei, also for your hearty contribution. It was quite a handful. Senator Tobiko also, I do appreciate her, and she commented on the capacity building and actually the necessary capacity building to cure all the county issues. And county assemblies are the first respondents of the oversight. So the IGRTC laboring function to the county government is necessary. My very able chair, Senator Eddie Okech, also had a lot to discuss about and to chip in on this one. So, Mr. Honorable Chair, since I took note of all the contributions of the PFM Amendment Act, I do hereby reply and request for the division to be deferred to a later date, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hamida. Division on the bill is hereby
yes,
deferred.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to request the... I can't read, sorry.
Very well. Division on
it's loud
this
and
particular
clear.
bill,
Yes, to be deferred
Senator
for the next.
Kibwana is deferred to the next sitting, pursuant to
Thank you,
Standing
Mr.
Order
Speaker.
66-3. Honorable members, I will further rearrange the standing order so that the order paper, so that we do the bill, the motion by Honorable Senator Cheptumo, which has been long-standing. Clerk, call upon that particular order so that Senator Cheptumo can prosecute.
Order number 26, motion, declaration of cattle rustling and banditry as a national disaster and establishment of a special fund for victims.
Yes, before Cheptumo, before you take over, the Honorable Senator Recha Mulgor, when this motion was deferred, had a balance of 6 minutes. He is also not in the House, and I will therefore permit then the Honorable Senator Cheptumo, who is the mover, to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you for in giving me a chance to reply to this motion, because, Mr. Speaker, it's been in our order for a very long time. When I got disposed, Mr. Speaker, indisposed, I was unable to finalize. Mr. Speaker, this motion received an overwhelming support from members of this House. In fact, Mr. Speaker, out of all the members who spoke to this motion, nobody opposed the motion. And all members who support this motion, Mr. Speaker, were able to justify the fact that banditry and ghetto rustling, Mr. Speaker, has indeed become a serious challenge of insecurity in our country. And every member supported, Mr. Speaker, that banditry and ghetto rustling should be declared a national disaster. And Mr. Speaker, same members also agreed with the establishment of a fund, a national fund, Mr. Speaker, which is to facilitate the compensation of the victims of banditry and ghetto rustling, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when moving this motion, I was able to demonstrate that this menace has caused a lot of suffering. Several Kenyans in Baringo County and other counties, Mr. Speaker, I think we are talking about 7 counties: Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, Turkana, West Pokot, Isiolo, Marsabit, and even Laikipia, Mr. Speaker, have been displaced. They have become IDPs in their own land. Not because they don't have where to stay, but because they have been evicted by force from their land. Mr. Speaker, the socio-economic and political rights guaranteed by the Constitution have also been denied to the Kenyan people affected by this menace. Schools destroyed, hospitals destroyed, and all other social amenities, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, displacement of population. And Mr. Speaker, was able to, in moving this motion, was able to justify. So mine today, Mr. Speaker, is to reply. And Mr. Speaker, I was also able to explain to the nation and this House why this menace of banditry and ghetto rustling is a national disaster. And Mr. Speaker, allow me in replying to this motion now, Mr. Speaker, to say that this, when you look at the national policy for disaster management in Kenya, it defines disaster, Mr. Speaker, as a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or society, causing widespread human, material, economic, and environmental losses, which exceeds the ability of the affected communities to cope up using its own resources. Mr. Speaker, 3 questions therefore arise. 1, has cattle rustling caused serious disruption of the functioning of community or society? And Mr. Speaker, the answer is yes. In fact, a big yes. 2, has cattle rustling, Mr. Speaker, caused widespread human, material, and economic loss and suffering? The answer again, Mr. Speaker, is in the affirmative. It is true. It is yes. And thirdly, is the suffering caused by the cattle rustling exceeds the ability of affected communities or society to cope up using its resources? Yes, Mr. Speaker, because the affected communities have tried their best to resist, to fight, but they have not been able to, because it is unable to use their resources to cope up with using its resources. Mr. Speaker, I have therefore been able to justify, prove to the House that indeed cattle rustling, Mr. Speaker, should be declared a national disaster. Mr. Speaker, sir, 5 regimes, as I conclude, have not been able to sort out this problem. 1977, Mr. Speaker, was, as I said, was the first time that the cattle rustling started, particularly in Baringo North. When my own village called Kalabata was raided, I was in primary school that time. That time, Mr. Speaker, the head of state was Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. President Moi, Mr. Speaker, took over 1 year later. And these menaces subsisted and continued, Mr. Speaker, for his leadership of 24 years. He tried his best, but he was unable to sort out this problem. Mr. Speaker, the third regime in our country, Kibaki, took over. He tried his best. He was unable to. Then Kenyatta too, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, came in. He tried his best. He was unable. And finally, now, we have William Samuel Ruto, the 50th President of the Republic. He is trying his best. He declared that he will sort out this problem. And Mr. Speaker, I'm very hopeful. I'm very optimistic, Mr. Speaker, that this regime, this government of William Ruto, because of the commitment we have seen, Mr. Speaker, so far, will indeed be the government that will sort out this problem. And I want to thank the President because, Mr. Speaker, he has made this public. He has put in place certain measures I don't want to say here. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, when all the structures and efforts are implemented, we will have this problem to an end. Mr. Speaker, finally, recently we lost our CDF and 12 other KDF officers in a plane crash, Mr. Speaker. I want to say in this House, Mr. Speaker, that if cattle rustling and banditry never existed in the country, maybe today we could be having our CDF alive. Mr. Speaker, the blood of our late CDF, the blood of our soldiers who perished in the same plane crash. The blood of the police officers and the Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, who have been shed during this time, Mr. Speaker, should be able to inspire us and to make this issue a serious national disaster, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the CDF and the other staff were going to oversee the reconstruction of schools that were destroyed by the bandits. He was going to visit the officers of KDF who are dealing with this situation in North Rift. And so, Mr. Speaker, we are talking of a situation where even our CDF lost his life because of this menace. I want to appeal to the House to pass this motion, Mr. Speaker. I want to appeal to this House, Mr. Speaker, to rise to the occasion. And when the House, Mr. Speaker, passes this motion, I want to appeal to the Minister of Interior to implement, because, Mr. Speaker, it is worth doing so. And I want also to thank him for the efforts he has tried.
What is your point of order? Senator Cheptumo, please resume your seat.
Just, Mr. Speaker, I don't know, maybe understanding order 105. I know, yeah, you are finishing, but I don't know what the senior meant by saying the CDF died because of this menace. I would wish he would rephrase to say because he had visited there to fight against cattle rustling, so that there is no confusion, because you know it's a very sensitive matter. I thank you.
Very well, Mr. Senator Cheptumo.
Thank you, my learned junior, Cherargei. I think you are right. And I think I said that earlier, Mr. Speaker, that our CDF was trying to visit the schools that were destroyed by the bandits. In the process, he really lost his life with the other officers. So it is true that he died because in the process of helping the situation, and I think what Cherargei is saying is very true. Mr. Speaker, it actually concluded and said that when this motion is passed, Mr. Speaker, I want to appeal to the CS Interior to implement. And Mr. Speaker, I will never stop. I will pursue these resolutions of the House until we have a fund established to compensate victims of cattle rustling. And my people of Baringo County, I continue to stand with them. And as their Senator, Mr. Speaker, I will use this forum, this House, Mr. Speaker, this institution of Senate to advance our interest, to advance our security, to advance solutions for this challenge. Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply.
Honorable Senators, I determine pursuant to Standing Order 84.1 that the matter does not affect counties, and therefore I will proceed to put the question. Honorable Senators, I now put the question that aware that cattle rustling and banditry is a major menace and security threat in the South and North Rift regions and some other regions of the country, concerned that the menace has since left irreparable and negative economic, socio-economic impact, which include but are not limited to increased number of widows, widowers, orphaned children, poverty, displacement of people leading to internally displaced persons, IDPs, disruption of educational health programs and other economic activities owing to the destruction and or closure of educational, health, and other institutions. Further concern that the people living in the affected regions have been denied the enjoyment of their social, economic, and political rights as guaranteed to them under the Bill of Rights as enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Kenya. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves that the national government, through the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, and in collaboration with the Council of Governors, 1. Declares cattle rustling as a national disaster. 2. Establish a national task force on cattle rustling / banditry to 1. Investigate the causes of the rampant cattle rustling and banditry in the said region and the country at large, and 2. Establishes the extent of suffering, loss, and damage the cattle rustling / banditry has occasioned to the communities in all the affected areas. 3. Create a special fund for mitigating the losses suffered by and in compensating all victims of cattle rustling / banditry, and settle all internally displaced persons occasioned by the menace. Honorable members, will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, having concluded on that particular motion, we will go back to order number 18. Clerk, call out that particular order number 18.
Order number 18, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment number 2, Bill, Senate Bills number 52 of 2023, second reading.
The mover of this particular motion is the Honorable Senator Raphael Chimera. Proceed to move.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move the Constitution of Kenya Amendment number 2, Bill 2023, being Senate Bills number 52 of 2023, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by first appreciating and thanking the immediate former Senator for Trans Nzoia for the thought in attempting to push through this bill during the subsistence of the last term of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Wherever he is, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure him in a very profound and special manner that his thoughts, his vision, his aspiration, and his ideology into this bill are well captured under Senator Chimera by virtue of this particular bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the success story of devolution cannot be underestimated, Mr. Speaker. Devolution has really tremendously transformed the progress of our society, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank those governors who are doing a very good job with devolution. I know it's not all of them, but those governors who are doing a perfect job with devolution, Mr. Speaker, I want to take this special chance and opportunity to congratulate them for a job well done, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today, as I speak before this Honorable House, Mr. Speaker, the people of Maverivireni, Kazandani, and Movumbo in Kwale County are set to enjoy, since independence, Mr. Speaker, the first tarmac road in that particular locality, Mr. Speaker, thanks to devolution. Mr. Speaker, as I speak before you here today, the people of Adu, Kamale village in Kilifi County, are enjoying proper healthcare services thanks to devolution, Mr. Speaker. As we use that yardstick to pour praise on our many governors out there, Mr. Speaker, the same yardstick, Mr. Speaker, should be employed and used by this Honorable House in demanding accountability, transparency, and oversight, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill seeks to amend Article 99, Sub-Article 2, and Article 193, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, as well as Section 24, Subsection 2, and Section 25, Subsection 2 of the Elections Act. merely to provide that a person who has served his full term as governor shall not be eligible to be elected as a senator or a member of the county assembly. I want to imagine there's no serving governor who would want to seek election into the office of county assembly, but I know many, many of them who are currently serving their second term. And by 2027, they will have served their full term, Mr. Speaker, are desirous of running for Senate. Mr. Speaker, it is time, as a leadership of this great nation, we speak to the reality of accountability and holding various officers in government, in governance structure, accountable. Mr. Speaker, I shudder to imagine that a governor, and permit me, Mr. Speaker, what I'm about to say might fly in the face of principles of natural justice. But, Mr. Speaker, we have a governor from Isiolo County, Mr. Speaker. This governor has gone rogue, for lack of a better word, Mr. Speaker. This same governor has refused, Mr. Speaker, to honor invitations and summons from about 2 committees that I sit. I shudder to imagine if this governor serves his full term as governor and perhaps finds it fit to seek election as a senator in this honorable house, Mr. Speaker, if he is not able to submit to the oversight process as it is as a governor, what can he do when he gets to this Senate as a senator, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, we must be truly accountable to our people, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, those who will come on this floor and perhaps attempt to oppose this particular amendment bill, Mr. Speaker, will tell you one thing, Mr. Speaker, and I'm thinking ahead of them, Mr. Speaker. They'll come before you waving the Constitution on your face and cite Article 38, sub-Article 3, Mr. Speaker, and cite Article 27, Mr. Speaker, that speaks about fundamental freedoms, fundamental rights on political freedom and choices, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that is a conversation as a country we should not be prepared to have for now, Mr. Speaker. I understand. I am a lawyer by profession. I understand the Constitution very well, Mr. Speaker, and I know many opponents would think this attempt by Senator Chimera to try and bar governors from coming to Senate automatically is unconstitutional, Mr. Speaker. However, Mr. Speaker, I plead with them to read that same article, Mr. Speaker, Article 38.3, Mr. Speaker. And for the benefit of doubt, perhaps I can read it for them just to stress on what that article says, Mr. Speaker. It says that every adult citizen has the right, without unreasonable restrictions, to be, number 1, registered as a voter, number 2, to vote by secret ballot in any election or referendum, and lastly, Mr. Speaker, to be a candidate for public office or office within a political party of which the citizen is a member and, if elected, to hold office. Mr. Speaker, they will use this particular article in the Constitution as a carte blanche, Mr. Speaker, to advance the argument that this bill is not fit, Mr. Speaker. However, Mr. Speaker, the literal reading of this article, Mr. Speaker, has 2 words: without unreasonable restrictions, Mr. Speaker. Then that therefore says and means that if you intend to push through such a bill, as I am doing now, Mr. Speaker, the only recourse you have is that that particular amendment bill must be excusable and justifiable in law, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this particular bill, Mr. Speaker, in my well-considered opinion and view, the proposed limitation that seeks to bar governors from running for Senate and our county assembly, Mr. Speaker, is reasonable and justifiable as it is limited to the offices which directly exercise oversight of our county governments. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect to my colleague senators, I have tremendous respect to Senator from Uasin Gishu, Senator Jackson Mandago. I have a lot of respect and admiration to Senator Ali Roba. And equally, I have tremendous respect. And of course, I benefit from the very amazing wisdom from the Speaker of this House, who also served as a full-term governor, Mr. Speaker. But what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is that even this law, if we pass it today, Mr. Speaker, will not apply retrogressively, Mr. Speaker. So those senators who are already sitting in this Senate as former governors have nothing to worry about, Mr. Speaker. But then the question, Mr. Speaker, is this. Out of respect for colleagues, and allow me, in Swahili we say kutohoa, Mr. Speaker, I will attempt to coin a new word. That colleaguism we have in this House, Mr. Speaker, it is impossible. It is impossible to allow a sitting senator to come before any oversight committee of this House to answer to questions during his tenure as governor in his particular area of jurisdiction, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is a Latin saying that says, nemo judex in causa sua, that no one can be allowed to be a judge of his own cause, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Article 96, sub-Article 3, if my memory serves me right, Mr. Speaker, of this Constitution, vests a lot of power and authority in the Senate to protect our counties and to carry out oversight function, Mr. Speaker. I know there's a debate ongoing currently, silently amongst us as senators, on how and the manner in which we intend to carry out this function, the oversight function, Mr. Speaker. And I know I don't want to go much into that because it is not material to this bill, but I just want to remind my colleague senators that what we seek to do here is in the law, is in the Constitution, and our mandate is just purely to oversight people who are in charge of management of public funds, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I shudder to imagine that somebody who served as a full-term governor appears before a committee he sits as a member, a committee he chairs perhaps, and there are questions as to the misdirection, misapplication of finances under his watch, and then you expect there will be no conflict of interest from that particular individual, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have spoken to many people, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, the last conversation I had was from a very senior colleague in the profession. He's actually a senior counsel. And he asked me one simple question, that Senator Chimera, why are you seeking to limit your future political choices? Mr. Speaker, without the fear of any contradiction, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that even if, God willing, I become governor of the great county of Kwale, I will serve my term and go and serve the people of Kwale and the people of Kenya in another capacity and not as a senator, Mr. Speaker. In any case, all I'm asking, Mr. Speaker, is to give us a cooling period of about 5 years so that the Senate is able to look into audit issues raised against that particular county, have them looked into in a very impartial manner without being afraid it is a colleague senator who is supposed to answer those questions, Mr. Speaker, so that at the end of the day we end up achieving what I call real, tangible, and results-oriented oversight, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to thank the Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs for their time in going through this bill. I am a member of that particular committee, Mr. Speaker. We took time and we went round counties, especially Mombasa County, in form of public participation, Mr. Speaker, just to receive feedback from the people over this bill, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, the people of Mombasa spoke very loudly and clear. In fact, I was shocked that the proposal was that if a governor serves his full term, he has no business even seeking the position of a village elder in his way, Mr. Speaker. That speaks to the need as a country to have a very honest conversation on how best do we oversight our funds, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am doing this not out of witch hunt, not out of the fear to compete fairly with our colleagues who are serving as governors, Mr. Speaker, but out of the prosperity, Mr. Speaker, and the need to ensure there is proper accountability and transparency in the manner and which these funds that we have passed here today, last week, as a house, gets to the people of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move, and I will call upon Senator Boni Halwale, the bullfighter from Kakamega, to second, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boni Halwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is now 12 years since we promulgated the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And Mr. Speaker, not promulgated, but started applying it in its current form. Mr. Speaker, we have had the election 2013, Mr. Speaker, 2017, 2022, and soon we're going to have the election 2027. We would only be dogs if we have not learned any lessons during this period that we have applied. I am one of the proponents of us doing a total audit of the entire Constitution so that where it has been good, we continue, and where it has been bad, we discontinue. And during that exercise of discontinuing where it has been bad, we replace it with something better. And where, Mr. Speaker, it has been good, we make it even better. That is all that audit is supposed to do. I therefore proudly stand in my place this afternoon to strongly support the proposal by Senator Chimera. In fact, if this motion is carried, then it will be a win for the youth of this country. Through their young colleague, they'll have proved that if you send a young senator to this house, they make a difference. Number two, it's going to be a win for integrity. Senator Chimera is still looking for support up to and including being elected for the first time. But because he's cut off fabric of integrity, he's saying, I'll put my foot down so that integrity can have its place in this Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, this is not a theoretical proposal. We already have a case where the current governor of Bungoma has served for 5 years as a speaker. So it can happen. Number two, the current speaker of this house is an immediate former governor. He's serving. So it is happening. Number three, Senator Mandago and Senator Ali Roba are serving. So we are not in the realm of theory. We are in the realm of reality. Are you telling me, Mr. Speaker, that while Speaker Lusaka was seated where you are, with those immense powers, there were no questions of oversight, begging from his tenure in Bungoma? Are you telling me there are no such questions emanating from the county of Mandera, county of Uasin Gishu, and the county of Kilifi? They're there. And therefore, the only goodbye, the only hi we can tell the 4 distinguished leaders that I've mentioned above is that nothing personal. When this law will be applied, the principle of application will be the usual standard. You don't take laws backwards, as the mover of the motion has said, and which is the principle that governs lawmaking all over the world. Mr. Speaker, it is not possible
For 60 years, the African Development Bank Group has played an integral part in Africa's socio-economic transformation. From the 27th to the 31st of May 2024, the African Development Bank Group will host its 2024 annual meetings at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi, Kenya. This year's theme will be Africa's Transformation, the African Development Bank Group, and Reform of the Global Financial Architecture. The high-level meetings will be hosted by the President of Kenya, His Excellency Honorable Dr. William Ruto, and the President of the African Development Bank Group, Akinwumi Adesina, and will convene African leaders, development partners, private sector actors, civil society organizations, youth, among other stakeholders. This event will be live on KBC Channel 1.
It is imperative that we recognize